An unusual sight in the mountains of Colorado has a lot of people talking.
It has some people asking, is that Bigfoot? A couple behind the camera said they saw something moving on the hillside. You can see.
There's undeniable proof that Bigfoot has been found. In Illinois, a mushroom picker said he captured Bigfoot on his camera in the dense, scary forest. He also heard a voice telling him it was time to leave. How did this man manage to capture the most famous creature, Bigfoot, who has been sought after for so long?
The way it comes out of the trees is what we call a Groucho walk. It's very typical of what witnesses say Bigfoot walks like. You can see it on the Patterson-Gimlin film. It seems to be out of human proportions in the sense that you can't see a neck. It has very beefy looking arms.
Let us explore the latest evidence that everybody has been seeking for decades to see the real face of Bigfoot.
911, what are you reporting?
With someone or something crawling around out here. Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
Is about 6'9", I don't know.
The impossible chase of Bigfoot. The surreal stories did not stop there. An archaeologist believed he had found cave paintings depicting aliens, pointing to figures with large heads and different colored limbs, while skeptics rolled their eyes. In Utah, a man claimed he could channel electricity, showing off his stunts with a manic grin, unaware of the skepticism bubbling behind the scenes. Investigators posed questions as they examined the strange phenomena. Was it some kind of unidentified flying object? A bizarre mutation? A plane frozen in midair? An animal growling like a prehistoric beast? Nothing was too far-fetched in the world of "the proof is out there." The cameraman wandered through the forest, his cautious curiosity evident in his voice as he muttered about the size of the mushrooms scattered across trees and logs. He pointed his camera at the fungal specimens, calmly narrating his trek. One mushroom caught his eye, appearing to have a bite taken out of it. He noted this, hinting that someone, or perhaps something, had been snacking. Just as he was taking in the peculiar sight, an eerie howl shattered the stillness, reverberating through the forest. The long, drawn-out wail, lasting about 9 seconds, sounded like an animal, though its exact origin was unclear. The cameraman swung his camera back and forth, searching for any sign of movement, but the forest remained stubbornly silent, revealing nothing. Field researcher Ken Gerhard, a staunch believer in Bigfoot, confidently asserted that the creature was a genuine primate, capable of producing a wide array of vocalizations and noises. He categorized this particular sound as a yell or scream, fitting perfectly into the lore surrounding Bigfoot. Gerhard described Sasquatches as social animals that vocalize if another is nearby. While most animals vocalize for reasons like mating, he dismissed the notion that this howl was a mating call. Instead, he believed it to be something far more primal, a war cry. This particular vocalization had a distinct air of aggression. Gerhard suggested that whatever was making the sound was attempting to scare the cameraman away from its territory. One theory proposed that this alleged Sasquatch was simply defending its feeding grounds. Gerhard explained that Bigfoot is an opportunistic omnivore, which means it eats anything. It would make perfect sense for the creature to find an abundant and plentiful food source in the mushroom patch. Yet, the situation was murky. Illinois was known for its Bigfoot sightings, especially in the South, in places like the Shawnee National Forest. However, this encounter supposedly took place in the North. Some speculated that Bigfoot was a transient species, always on the move, making it frustratingly elusive. If they existed, it was plausible they could be in the area. Anthropologist Kathy Strain wondered if the cameraman might have been hearing something far less mystical than Bigfoot, suggesting that the sound could easily have been a black bear. This skeptical perspective cast doubt on the more fantastical explanations, implying that the cameraman was merely chasing shadows in the dark. Despite the eerie howl that echoed through the woods and the unsettling silence that followed, the dense forest remained stubbornly indifferent to the problem unfolding within its depths. The cameraman pressed on with his search, his camera capturing only the still, shadowy figures of mushrooms while the forest kept its puzzles concealed, leaving the reality behind the strange howl cloaked in contradictions. Field researchers and experts in human societies engaged in heated debates about the possible explanations, suggesting everything from a territorial Bigfoot protecting its hunting ground to a common black bear prowling through the trees. The eerie howl had first been heard by a team of biologists conducting a survey on local wildlife. It was deep and guttural, echoing through the canopy with a resonance that unsettled the researchers. They quickly set up audio recorders and motion-activated cameras, hoping to capture any signs of the creature responsible. In Utah, a man insisted he could channel electricity through his body. His wild videos showed him handling live wires with ease, and his grin suggested he reveled in the amazement and confusion of his audience. Around the globe, strange videos, bizarre photos, and puzzling sounds baffled the senses. People were left questioning their grasp on reality. One man swore he saw a plane frozen mid-air. Another spoke of strange mutations. The unusual buzzing and distant roars left viewers wondering if they were witnessing unidentified flying objects or simply losing their grip on reality. Enter Tony Harris, a journalist with over 30 years of experience, who confidently assured the audience he was ready to separate fact from fiction. He had followed the facts wherever they led and was now armed with a team of experts to bring clarity to the most bewildering videos and sounds. The experts nodded with conviction as they examined each case, offering their analysis. One declared a video credible, while another dismissed a different video as clearly faked. But not all videos survived the scrutiny. Some were dismissed outright as hoaxes. As The Proof Is Out There geared up for another evening of perplexing revelations, Tony Harris and his experts promised to analyze each conundrum with a keen eye. The chilling howl was only the beginning, guiding the biologists to something much more unsettling. Growls, howls, and screams. Is Bigfoot roaming the woods? For over a century, the state had been without native populations of bears, but rumors continued that wandering bears from Missouri and Wisconsin sometimes strayed into the area. People wondered why there was such a commotion. Bears are known for their low primal growls rather than for prolonged screaming or wailing. Their growls are short, focused, and deeply rooted in their animal nature. But the strange noise that was recorded in the woods was different. It was loud, long, and overly dramatic.
What the fuck is that?
Wildlife biologist Dr. Floyd Hayes decided to investigate this unusual noise. He knew that coyotes and wolves could howl for long periods, but their howls have a distinctly canine quality, and no smaller animal, like a fox, could make such a loud and unsettling sound. In his opinion, there were only two possibilities: a human prank or the legendary creature known as Bigfoot. The puzzle became even more intriguing when the recording was given to sound ecologist Dr. Ben Gottesman. He carefully analyzed the noise and noted that it lasted about 10 seconds. The scream began with a throaty, broad wail and ended with a long, drawn-out howl. However, on closer inspection, Dr. Gottesman noticed something hollow and artificial about the sound. For a noise supposedly recorded in an open forest, the audio seemed strangely muffled. Dr. Gottesman replayed the recording several times, focusing on the distinctive characteristics of the sound. He found that the scream had a pitch and tone that were inconsistent with natural animal noises. He also observed that the prolonged howl had an unnatural echo, unlike what you would expect in a forest environment. The sound was handed over to another expert, wildlife acoustics specialist Dr. Emily Parker. Dr. Parker used advanced software to analyze the waveform of the noise and found unusual patterns suggesting electronic manipulation. She concluded that the scream was likely an invented sound, possibly made using digital audio tools, and then played back in the woods through a loudspeaker. Feeling suspicious, Gottesman began searching for clues and eventually came across a sound effect from a television program about prehistoric creatures. The resemblance was remarkable. The recording was a deception, pieced together using special effects and cleverly included in a video to create a viral sensation online. The final decision was straightforward. It was a fake. There were no authentic Bigfoot calls, only sound effects skillfully edited to stir up hysteria on the internet. Despite this, the legend of Bigfoot remained captivating to some people. There was still a faint hope that the elusive creature might be hiding somewhere deep in the forest, possibly munching on a mushroom or two. Just be sure to avoid the toxic ones, big fella. In the central region of Chhattisgarh, India, in July 2014, A group of reporters gathered around archaeologist J.R. Bhagat as he guided them through caves adorned with ancient paintings. These caves, decorated by early hunter-gatherers over 10,000 years ago, held strange paintings that would spark rumors of extraterrestrial visitors. Bhagat stopped at a rock face and revealed a painting of half a dozen dark red and yellow figures standing closely together. Unlike the usual bison and mammoths often seen in prehistoric art, these figures had features that were strange. Their heads looked oversized, their limbs were painted in unusual colors, and they didn't resemble the other human figures painted on the cave walls. The strange appearance of these figures sparked speculation about the possibility that ancient humans might have been painting beings from another world. Another painting on the cave ceiling supported the idea of extraterrestrial visitors. It showed a mechanical-looking disc, which resembled the iconic flying saucer imagery made famous in the 1950s and 1960s, complete with beams and windows. Gottesman was not convinced by the supposed evidence of Bigfoot calls. Instead, she found it more likely that someone had deliberately fabricated the audio to stir up excitement and create a sensation. Through careful investigation and audio analysis, she exposed the recording as a forgery. Her skepticism led her to discover that the scream was actually a blend of sound effects from a television show and other digital audio tools. Meanwhile, Bhagat's discovery in Chhattisgarh offered another glimpse into ancient beliefs and how they may have interpreted the unknown. The cave paintings seem to suggest that early humans might have perceived the sky as a realm of powerful beings or visitors from another place. The paintings portraying these otherworldly figures and mechanical-looking round flying objects added more interest to the stories of visitors from other planets that have been shared for generations. The ancient paintings of Chhattisgarh, India, were not the only ancient artworks suggesting the presence of visitors from outer space. Other cultures and civilizations left behind similar clues in their art. The Wandjina figures, painted by indigenous people in Australia, and the carvings on rocks in Capitol Reef State Park in the United States also gave additional evidence for those who believed in ancient encounters with beings from other planets. The Indian round flying object, with its 3 lines resembling beams of light or tripod legs and its apparent small windows, reflected the familiar imagery of round flying objects often called flying saucers. Anthropologist Kathy Strain believes these ancient drawings seem to commemorate a significant event or encounter. She emphasized that these were not just random drawings on cave walls. Cave walls were considered precious and sacred, so anything painted on them must have held great importance. The figures with large heads looked strikingly similar to the humanoid aliens that would later become iconic in popular culture, suggesting a strong connection between ancient and modern representations of beings from other planets. These ancient artistic depictions have sparked much curiosity and debate among researchers and enthusiasts. Many have speculated that ancient humans might have had contact with beings from other planets. The artwork could be visual representations of their encounters or beliefs about these visitors. In Australia, the Wandjina figures feature large eyes, no mouth, and are surrounded by halos, which some interpret as spacesuits or helmets. Meanwhile, in Capitol Reef State Park, United States, the petroglyphs depict figures with antennas and strange, bulbous shapes, which some believe represent otherworldly visitors. The similarities between these figures and the ancient paintings in Chhattisgarh suggest that different civilizations might have shared similar beliefs or experiences. Kathy Strain and others in her field argue that ancient art deserves serious consideration as historical evidence, even if we cannot be certain of the exact meaning behind the drawings. Whether these artworks represent actual encounters with beings from other planets, or simply the beliefs of ancient peoples, they offer a fascinating glimpse into humanity's age-old fascination with the cosmos. The fascination with visitors from other worlds and round flying objects has continued into modern times. Popular culture is full of stories, movies, and books about encounters with visitors from other planets. These tales often feature beings with large heads and round eyes, similar to the ancient depictions. The stories of visitors from other worlds were captivating. The cosmic cave paintings. Archaeologist Ed Barnhart believed these cave paintings represented a different type of cosmic trip. In ancient cultures, spiritual leaders known as shamans often entered altered states of awareness to gain knowledge and understanding. They used hallucinogenic plants, fasting, or depriving themselves of sleep to unlock visions and gain insight. While in these trance-like states, shamans felt as if their bodies were floating outside of themselves, seeing their own forms stretched and the ground disappearing beneath them. The paintings on the cave walls were reflections of these experiences, essentially a visual record of their spiritual trips. Inside the dark caves, with flickering torches casting long shadows, shamans documented their visions. Their heads seemed enlarged not because of extraterrestrial origins, but because their bodies appeared elongated as they floated upwards. What many thought were depictions of beings from other worlds might actually have been hallucinations or dreams, representing an ancient and personal trip through the cosmos, rather than a visit from extraterrestrial beings. The unidentified flying object in the sky sparked excitement and speculation. However, in reality, it was probably just a trick of the cosmos, rather than a spacecraft from another star system. Instead of a beam from an alien ship, the object was likely just sun rays shining directly overhead when the sun was at its highest point, around noon. Similar celestial phenomena have been observed across India and other parts of the world, each one as perplexing as the last. Barnhart suggested that these ancient cave paintings reflected the inner trips of shamans exploring altered states of consciousness. During these trance-like states, they felt like their bodies were floating upwards, with their limbs and heads elongated due to their distorted perception. The visions they had were captured on the cave walls, creating vivid images that some interpreted as evidence of extraterrestrial visitors. These visions, according to Barnhart, were not of alien beings but of the shamans themselves in altered states. The shapes seen in the paintings, their oversized heads and elongated bodies, were the shamans' own forms as they perceived them while in their trance-like states. The celestial phenomena that some attributed to visitors from other planets were more likely reflections of sun rays or other natural atmospheric effects. Instead of being evidence of alien spacecraft, the unidentified flying objects were illusions created by the interplay of light and shadow in the skies above. The paintings on the cave walls were not just artistic expressions, but also a form of storytelling, documenting the trips of the shamans as they sought knowledge and understanding through their altered states. The elongated shapes and floating figures found in ancient art symbolize the creator's spiritual trips, rather than physical beings, from distant worlds. The well-preserved ancient Indian rock paintings, often thought to depict contact with advanced beings from other planets, were probably the creative expressions of prehistoric shamans from hunter-gatherer societies, possibly made while they were in altered states of consciousness. These early artists may not have been depicting advanced beings from space, but were likely experiencing something profoundly extraordinary in their minds. In the spring of 2021 in Central California, astrophotographer Andrew McCarthy aimed his camera to capture a rare solar flare from his backyard. Instead, he found something equally surprising and unexpected. He saw 7 spherical objects appearing to glide over the surface of the sun, moving in unison like a synchronized dance. Slowing down the footage and watching it carefully revealed strange round shapes floating together in a coordinated manner. McCarthy, who was experienced in his field, was sure that these were not simply errors in his equipment. Could they have been specks of dust on the lens? Unlikely. Whatever these objects were, they were clearly moving together and didn't act like ordinary dust particles. The curious shapes posed an interesting question. Had McCarthy photographed a group of large, unidentified flying objects near the sun, or were these shapes something smaller and closer to his camera? These objects didn't follow any known patterns of typical aerial phenomena. They hovered and moved in perfect synchrony, as if deliberately controlled rather than drifting aimlessly. Some observers suggested this could be proof of advanced technology from another world, while others proposed a simpler explanation, like birds or insects near the camera lens, creating an optical illusion against the bright background of the sun. However, their organized movement seemed too deliberate for natural creatures. McCarthy remained puzzled over the footage and couldn't find a definitive explanation. His work gained attention among enthusiasts and skeptics alike, sparking debates about whether the objects were advanced visitors from space or an unusual atmospheric event. Despite remaining unsure about what he had captured, McCarthy knew that the strange spheres didn't act like any known natural phenomenon. The unusual sighting added to the long list of unexplained incidents that intrigued both believers and skeptics. Eventually, McCarthy, known for his creative theories, suggested that the sun could serve as a convenient energy source for spacecraft from other worlds. He believed the sun's corona, which reaches temperatures of millions of degrees, could provide immense energy that any advanced spacecraft could harness. However, he wasn't alone in his imaginative speculations. Others have theorized that the sun might serve as a refueling station for visitors from other worlds because of the vast energy available in the corona. The intense heat and energy could be collected by spacecraft, enabling them to explore the solar system and beyond. While these ideas might seem far-fetched, they reflect the enduring fascination with the possibility of otherworldly visitors. The ancient rock paintings, along with McCarthy's peculiar sighting, continue to captivate those curious about the unknown. Though skeptics and believers often clash over interpretations, the desire to uncover the truth about these phenomena keeps the conversation alive. Whether the elongated shapes in the ancient paintings or the spherical objects near the sun are evidence of advanced technology from other planets or simply creative expressions of human imagination, they remind us of the limitless possibilities that the universe holds. The ancient paintings and unknown objects near the sun hinted at endless possibilities, but Alexis Brooks proposed an even wilder theory. Ancient writings hint at dangerous aliens. Alexis Brooks, an author known for her writing about conspiracy theories, presented this question: could the sun itself harbor living beings? She referenced ancient writings like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which describe the sun as a living, conscious deity. Alexis pondered the possibility that these unusual objects could be alien spacecraft or living entities originating directly from inside the sun. The belief in the sun as a living entity was not unique to ancient cultures. In 1795, William Herschel, a renowned astronomer who discovered the planet Uranus, suggested that the sun might be inhabited by creatures that have adapted to its extreme conditions. Although the idea of life on the sun sounds purely imaginative, Earth is home to organisms that thrive in harsh environments. Microbes flourish around underwater geothermal vents where temperatures exceed 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and some types of worms manage to survive even in the freezing Arctic. Before fully considering the idea of living organisms basking in the sun's heat, experts shared their opinions. Bob Anderson from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration had a more skeptical view. He pointed out that lens flares and distortions from cameras often give the illusion of objects near the sun. However, he didn't believe this was the case with McCarthy's video, because the solid shape and steady movement of the objects across the sun's surface were too consistent to be simple illusions. Ancient texts are not the only sources that suggest extraordinary possibilities about the sun. Different cultures throughout history have often depicted the sun as a divine entity or a source of supernatural power. For example, in ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra was considered one of the most important deities. The Aztecs also revered the sun god Huitzilopochtli, believing that he fought each day against darkness to bring light to the world. Furthermore, Alexis Brooks is not the only one speculating about the potential for extraterrestrial life in the solar system. Some scientists have suggested that certain moons of Jupiter and Saturn, such as Europa and Enceladus, could host microbial life beneath their icy surfaces. Even Venus, with its harsh, acidic atmosphere, has been considered a possible location for microbial life in the upper cloud layers where conditions might be more favorable. In the late 18th and early 19th centuries, scientists like William Herschel entertained a growing curiosity about the potential for life beyond Earth. Herschel believed that living creatures might inhabit the sun and suggested that the moon was home to intelligent beings who had constructed cities and fortifications. His ideas were part of a broader fascination with extraterrestrial life, and other scientists speculated about living organisms on celestial bodies like the moon and Mars. The contemporary photographer Andrew McCarthy initially thought he had captured images of the Starlink satellites crossing the sun in formation. Starlink, a project aimed at providing global internet access, involves a network of satellites released in groups that later disperse across the globe. However, McCarthy dismissed this idea upon realizing that the Starlink cluster launched that week was on the opposite side of the planet. What could these unusual shapes be, moving with apparent purpose across the sun's surface? Were they a fleet of spacecraft flying in formation? McCarthy was looking at a star nearly 93 million miles away, and yet these peculiar objects seemed to glide with purpose across the solar surface. The theory by Alexis Brooks about living creatures on the sun seemed interesting, and even McCarthy's idea of an alien refueling station couldn't be ignored. Meanwhile, Sarah Novak, another writer, suggested that extraterrestrial spacecraft might harness the immense energy of the sun's outer atmosphere, known as the solar corona. This layer, which is even hotter than the sun's surface, could provide a nearly limitless energy source for an advanced species. She speculated that this energy might explain the sharp, straight-line movements captured in McCarthy's video. The paths of these objects, too purposeful and precise to be camera distortions, contradicted the erratic movements of natural phenomena like meteors. The considerable size of these shapes, comparable to the dimensions of Venus, fueled imaginations about enormous spacecraft gliding through space. However, Bob Anderson speculated that these sightings were of objects much closer to Earth. He suggested that the V-shaped formation with a leader and followers resembled migratory birds. The rhythmic wiggle in their paths suggested flapping wings, possibly geese or swans migrating across the sun's path. Filmed in April, when geese and swans typically migrate, this explanation seemed plausible. A twist in this exploration of the unknown didn't come from space, but from a supposed ability of a man who claimed he could light a bulb using only his fingers. Within an online community dedicated to exploring extrasensory abilities, people were excited to see a demonstration of this phenomenon. In May 2021, a Canadian named Rob connected via video chat with Chris from Utah. Chris, using a piece of foil and a light bulb, demonstrated his ability to illuminate the bulb without any visible power source, rotating it to show there were no hidden tricks. The video was shared widely, leading to speculation about the limits of human potential. This demonstration, presented on a platform known for embracing unconventional ideas, bordered on disbelief. Could a human body generate enough electricity to power a light bulb? Or was it a cleverly rehearsed trick involving sleight of hand and concealed devices? The line between reality and illusion blurred, leaving viewers questioning the authenticity of the performance. Was this a breakthrough in understanding human potential, or a cleverly orchestrated illusion meant to fool the audience? William Herschel's ideas and humanity's endless curiosity about the unknown paved the way for the Parker Solar Probe, which aimed to uncover the puzzles of the sun once and for all. Is there life on the sun? The quest to find definitive explanations led back to the Parker Solar Probe, a spacecraft engineered to reach the sun in 2024. Would this spacecraft finally reveal if there was any form of life on the sun? Would it confirm that the puzzling objects were more than just birds? Or would it simply underscore the imaginative tendencies of those searching for life beyond our planet? At the same time, the supposed human circuit remained a contentious topic. Critics argued that Chris's demonstration was merely a fraudulent trick, while supporters claimed it was evidence of extraordinary abilities. The online community buzzed with theories, discussions, and videos as Rob and Chris unexpectedly became celebrities, with their performance meticulously analyzed frame by those eager to discover the reality. As the controversy intensified, the performance itself seemed to grow more important. Was it a symbol of human potential, or a mirror reflecting our desire to believe in the unbelievable? Whether it was migratory birds silhouetted against the sun, or a light bulb glowing without wires, these events revealed more about the people watching them than about the confusing phenomena themselves. In a world where imagination often surpasses reason, the extraordinary and the questionable coexist, making it difficult to distinguish between what is possible and what is not. Chris, a man with an unusual skill, claims he can harness an extraordinary power to light up light bulbs with just a touch of his hand. Fascinating as it sounds, his story began when he was asked to show his surroundings using his camera to prove that there was no hidden Tesla coil or static generator nearby, and, as expected, none was found. Chris attributes his unusual ability to a man he met in South America who taught him to harness energy through meditation. This man believed that humans were similar to batteries and could collect negative ions from the atmosphere, charging their bodies and creating a voltage differential. According to Chris, what people saw was just a static discharge. Although this process physically exhausted him, he insisted that by controlling his muscles and breathing in a particular way, he could generate an electrical charge, drawing negative ions from the air and lighting up the bulb before grounding the energy safely. He explained his remarkable feat as simply a matter of physics. As theories circulated online, opinions on the Parker Solar Probe and Chris's supposed supernatural abilities became increasingly polarized. The probe's mission was to gather critical data about the sun's atmosphere, magnetic fields, and solar winds. Some individuals speculated that the space probe would collect clear proof of life beyond Earth or uncover specific details about strange objects that had been noticed near the sun's surface. Others believed the probe would simply offer important scientific knowledge about the sun's internal structure and behavior patterns. Ordinary people generally generate around 100 watts of electrical power when at rest, but directing that energy into a steady flow of electricity is uncommon. Chris claimed he could do this without difficulty, but skeptics like Mick West thought it was just a clever trick involving a small piece of aluminum foil placed on his finger. Mick explained that anyone could rig a light bulb using a small battery and a light hidden inside. By touching the foil to the bulb's electrical connections, the light would shine, creating the illusion of magic. However, Dr. Hakeem Olusei had a different idea. He proposed that Chris might not be gathering ions from the surrounding air, but rather conducting electrical power from another source. Given that the human body is composed of more than 50% water, it can conduct electricity effectively. If Chris connected himself to a power supply, he could transfer the electrical charge to the light bulb, causing it to light up. In this situation, Chris was probably connected to a low-voltage electrical current. Still, an ongoing electrical flow can be hazardous, particularly if it passes through the heart, raising questions about how Chris could withstand such exposure. When questioned directly, Chris and his friend Rob rejected the idea that wires or trick bulbs were involved. To prove their point, they showcased the ability with a volunteer. Rob took hold of Chris's hand, touched the light bulb to the table, and it illuminated. No wires were visible, and nothing seemed to be connected to Chris. Rob insisted that it was not a fake light bulb. Despite this convincing demonstration, the experts remained doubtful, attributing it to a carefully practiced hoax. Although the performance was persuasive, their uncertainty lingered since the precise explanation was still unclear. The puzzle of Chris's ability remained unsolved, leaving the audience intrigued as the closing credits appeared. While imagination often blurs the boundary between reality and illusion, Chris's assertion is a reminder of how thin the line is between the incredible and the questionable. He claimed he could draw electricity from his body to light up a bulb, leaving many people captivated. Still, others remained unconvinced, insisting there had to be a more rational explanation for this occurrence. Can humans channel electricity through their bodies, or is it just another elaborate illusion? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing puzzles.